Not gonna lie to y'all. Took everything out of me to come out here and do this talk. And I'm gonna get right to it. I'm gonna be vulnerable, which is something that is difficult to do for men. And vulnerability can be taken as weakness. And unfortunately, when you show weakness, some people can take advantage of that. They look at that as an opportunity to take advantage of. But I'm gonna be vulnerable, and I'm gonna say just straight off the bat, in the last 5 years of my life, I've probably shed more tears than I have in the previous 20 years of my life. And I thought about that before I said it, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. Last 5 years have been really, really tough. You know, when I started these morning walk talks a few weeks ago, today is January 29th, by the way. I started off by talking about dealing with loss in the new year, tragedy, the fires that was burning. A friend of mine losing they friends of mine, I should say, losing their mom. And just yesterday, very, very close, I consider family, friend, lost a brother. He was an uncle, he was a son, he was a cousin, and he's gone. And unfortunately, it's just it's a reminder that we are not in control of what happens around us. We're not in control of what happens to us, but we are controlling. We are control of how we respond and how we move forward in the face of tragedy and adversity. So that's what this message is about. And before I get into the meat and potatoes, I just want to share with y'all how personal trauma for me continues to affect me, and it's a daily struggle. The word triggered was never in my vocabulary prior to the death of my parents, September 8th, 2019. I didn't know what that meant. Like, nothing really, really affected me to the point where I could say I'm triggered. But now I could be triggered in any type of situation, any given moment. It could be something somebody says to me. It could be a movie, a show I'm watching. It could be somebody I run into. It could be anything. And at any given moment, I could be subject to eyes welling up, super emotional, tears falling, it can happen anytime. Usually when it happens, I try to deal with it. I'm usually alone when it happens, but every now and then I get caught, you know what I'm saying? I think I'm by myself and a family member will walk in, son, daughter, wife, I just try to hide it. My daughter caught me once, and she's just so sweet. She just gave me a hug. She's definitely a blessing. But I'm gonna try to get through. I'm like, this is unedited. I'm just really walking and talking to y'all. I'm just walking, talking, getting through it. So when tragedy happens, we find ourselves kind of engulfed in that emotion, it's kind of hard to see your way out of it. But the danger of it is staying in that zone, not being able to work through it. It's hard for me to be vulnerable because of what I said. Like, it could be shown as weakness. It's hard to trust who you could be vulnerable with. And unfortunately, the one person that, you know, most of us go to, which is our mother. I don't have my mother anymore to just be vulnerable, just to let your guard down. Because motherly instincts, like, they're the only ones that know what you need in those times. They, without even words being said, they just know what you need. I apologize for this wind. But I remember a couple months before my parents died, I was going through something, and I just called my mom. And as soon as she answered the phone and said hello, I just bust out crying like a baby. Just boo-hoo tears, man. Uncontrollable sobbing for like 5 minutes. And I never forget it. I could hear her now. She didn't say really too much, but she just said, "It's okay. It's okay. Everything gonna be all right." She just let me cry. I didn't say no words. Just sobbing on the phone. And that's what I needed. I just needed somebody to allow me to let my guard down and be vulnerable, right? Basically, what I want everybody to understand that might be listening to this is moments of weakness happen to all of us. Life isn't perfect. Things happen. It's unexpected. It's uncontrollable. And as I was kind of building up the courage to come out here and even talk, because it was something that I needed to do just to come up out of the space that I was in, like, God spoke to me, felt like. And what I heard was, remember Paul. Remember Paul. And 2 Corinthians verse 12, I believe, just came to me. And if you're not familiar, just go look it up. Basically, what happened is Paul was given a thorn in his side. That thorn in his side was to act as a reminder to Paul that when times are going good, when everything's going well, it's easy to celebrate. It's easy to be happy when everything's going right. Paul was given a thorn in his side for a very specific purpose. The purpose of that thorn was to let him know that in times of pain, in times of weakness, when things aren't going well, God wanted him to know that his grace is sufficient. Meaning his grace is enough to sustain you, no matter what's going on, in good or bad. God said to him that his power is made perfect in weakness. So at times of weakness, when times are difficult, when life gets hard, that's when you should find the most strength. That's when you should really be thankful. That's when you should really, really show your true colors, because you find strength in God's power in times of weakness. So even though things are difficult, facing tragedy, it might seem like nothing's going right. Those are the times when you should stand tall the most. Those are the times where you could be a reflection of God's grace, of God's power, because it's actually bigger than you. You know what I mean? My trauma and my pain is permanent. It runs deep. There's no getting rid of it. It's here all the time. Everybody's level of trauma is not going to be the same. But you definitely don't want to wait for an unexpected, traumatic situation to happen to you before you start to realize how powerful it is when you can stand tall. You don't want a tragic situation to happen to you to where that's all you know, or it just takes over you. You can't see the good from the bad. So I guess really what I'm trying to say is it's okay to be weak at times. It's okay to show weakness. It's okay to show vulnerability. You may want to pick and choose when to display it, but don't stay in that space. Remember Paul's thorn. Remember the purpose of that thorn. It's a reminder that things will happen. Tragedy will happen. There will not be all good times. But the goal is to celebrate life at all times. I definitely want to say, if anybody watching this, they going through a difficult stretch. Times are hard. Life is difficult. You feeling overwhelmed. Just remember Paul's thorn. You know, storms pass. They don't last always. But for some people, man, when a storm rolls through, the severity of that storm can really, really, really be different for everybody. We just witnessed these wildfires in California. You got one side of the street where everybody's life is turned upside down, starting over from scratch. They looking at the rubble of their whole life and they trying to figure out how they could rebuild. And they glance across the street and they see their neighbor's house standing. Shit ain't fair all the time. It's just not fair. A lot of times I sit back and I wonder, in my own situation with with my father, it's like, damn, did you not remember the story of Paul's thorn? Like, you taught me everything I knew about faith and religion and belief in God. And it's like, when it was time for you to recall how God's power is made perfect in weakness, you just gave in to the weakness and let it overtake you. I just wonder how that is possible and why things happen. But I don't have no answers, man. All I know is different situations arise for different reasons, and everybody can't handle things the same way. And it's really not up to us to try to figure it out. You really got to internalize these situations. Be still, meditate, and listen to what God is actually trying to teach you. And most importantly, remember that when you feel weak, you can find strength in God. That's all I got, man. God loves you and I do too.